In the last video, we worked through customizing the formatting for axes, borders, and lines. In this video, we'll be creating relevant labels and tooltips to maximize the communication of information to our audience. When we took away the axis headers from our data, we took away the impact scale from our audience. We can certainly see that regular air dominates our shipping modes, but is that 8 packages or 10 million? Axis headers are a messy and imprecise communication of scale, but scale is certainly necessary here. Employing data labels can achieve the same effect with more precision and faster comprehension. Let's go ahead and add labels to this chart. Hop into the sheet and copy number of records, holding Control, to the label. Now edit the font by clicking Label, Text, and let's change this to Trebuchet 10-point bold white, and OK. Looks like it's a little squished. There we go. Now there are additional label settings beyond all on or all off, so let's take a look on the next chart. The easiest way to replicate labels and formatting from one sheet to the next is to copy the actual label text out of the box and paste it into the desired label box. So go to Label and Copy. This is especially true if you have more intricate formatting but use the same or similar fields. So let's copy that label text from our ship mode chart, head over to the product container sheet. First we need to copy the number of records to the label. Then we need to click Label, More, and paste our value there. And again, these are just a little tight for this label, so we'll make it slightly larger. So let's look at the label options that we have. So right now, Mark's label is set to all. But if you change it to selected, it'll only show up when you have one selected. If you choose min max, there are even more options. Let's get some more room here. Drag Marks up to the top and hit Label again. So we can see we have the label minimum value, the label maximum value. So if we just want to show the label at the maximum value, we would uncheck the minimum value. Now we're just looking at the largest line. We can also change what field it used to define min and max. So we could choose product container, and the max value would be alphabetically the last one, so wrap bag, because it starts with a W. The minimum value alternatively would be jumbo box, because alphabetically it's the first. Let's go ahead and leave it on automatic for now, and maximum, but we'll keep that in mind for later charts. One more thing to note on these options is the scope. To demonstrate that, let's add another dimension. Let's say region. So we currently have it set to show the label for the max of each pane, which is our region. If we set it to cell, it'll show the max of each cell, which is itself. If we set it to table, it looks at the entire table and only displays for the largest dimension. If we set it to pane and switch the order of product container and region, you can see it now defines the pane by product container, showing labels for the top values in each. Let's go ahead and undo the last couple moves to get region out of there. And now we'll hop over to the combo chart and use this technique to add a label to the most recent data point for both the bar and the line. Under the marks card for sum of number of records, let's add number of records from the row shelf. And let's go ahead and format this chart background so we can see this. We want to fill with our gray, and we'll change our label to default to Trebuchet 8-point bold white. Now let's set the label to only display for the min and max. Again, let's move the marks card up so we can see this whole menu here due to the screen resolution. we want to view on the entire table based on our week of ship date, just the max value. And let's do the same for the service level line. So ag of ship service level, we'll control drag the ship service level onto the label. And again, format that. Trebuchet 8-point bold white. And then for the label, min-max, week of ship date, only the maximum value. Now you might have noticed on the label there's another option called line ends. Then we can label just the start or the end of the line without having to mess with which min-max scope we're talking about. So let's go ahead and set it to line ends, end of line. Before we move on to the next video, let's format this date axis. Right click and format. For the dates, let's go ahead and remove the year. That way we can fit the text horizontally instead of vertically. It's easier to read this way. And let's also format the text to be Trebuchet 8-point bold medium gray. That'll make it much easier to read, and we won't really have to worry about the year if this is truly a 15-week trend based off today's date. Remember that you have plenty of default options for number formats, but you can always customize your own based on the standard number formatting rules, similar to Excel in most cases. One thing to keep in mind when you're displaying any numbers on your dashboard is the level of precision that you're showing. If you remember back in high school chemistry class, you might recall the use of sig figs, or significant figures. For example, the number 1300 has two significant figures, the 1 and the 3. The number 1302 has four significant figures. The number 40.500% has five significant figures. Every trailing zero after the decimal point counts. In dashboarding, oftentimes displaying two sig figs is generally an acceptable level of precision and very quick to consume. 3 is considered precise, and anything higher appears unreadable and adds little value. What would you rather read? 4.6 million or 4,612,349.3? Obviously, your stakeholders will ultimately dictate if you need every last decimal, but I would encourage you to round your labels when possible in order to increase the comprehension speed and avoiding bogging down the viewer with minutia. In the interest of not boring you with repetition, I'll add identical labels for the 2 remaining bar charts after this video ends, and I'll see you on the next video to work with optimizing tooltips.